Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Looks like broadband operators are going to have to start doing some reporting of cyber incidents that occur on their network, along with other companies, but I think certainly broadband operators and telecom companies are going to be included in that. Be right back with the details. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So I want to take a look at this article in CSO and then also real quickly at the proposed rules. And you'll see why I don't want to look at the proposed rules a lot, but I did want to look at this article. This little question box here is pretty annoying. Let me blow this up so we can see it better. I couldn't make it any bigger. It was covering what I was reading. So understanding CISA's proposed cyber incident reporting rules. CISA is an organization that was established I think it was 2018 when the Trump administration, or maybe this was earlier, I can't recall. So anyway, this was established for cybersecurity purposes. And then I think maybe it was 2018 when they came out with the rules that we had to have reporting on incidents. No, that was 2021. Anyway, I'm getting my dates confused, but CISA came first. And then these rules on reporting cyber incidents came out later. So CISA is the organization that would be managing this. And they're also the organization, and a little plug here, Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a video at 3 o'clock with Travis Abrams from UNS. We're going to be talking about new cybersecurity requirements for USDA Reconnect, if you were not aware of that. USDA Reconnect, the application window is open now. It ends on May 21st, I believe it is. And this is the first time that there's a cybersecurity requirement. The cybersecurity requirements are very similar to what you would have to do if you wanted to get BEAD funding or E-ACAM, except CISA is, instead of NIST, it's CISA, but then CISA is saying that they're going to be following the NIST framework. But anyway, Travis and I are going to be talking about that on Tuesday. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about, in addition to a lot of the similarities with NIST and going through those various things that you have to know and have to do, there's another category called governance now in the 2.0 framework of NIST. And CISA has said they're going to model theirs after the NIST framework and are right now updating it with 2.0 from NIST. So if that's all confusing, then join us on Tuesday. Again, that's 3 o'clock on Tuesday. And if you go there, I linked to that. I linked to the article that I'm looking at today. I linked to the proposed rules if you wanted to go through those. And then I linked to this. You can go and click notify me, and you'll be notified as soon as we go live. If you wanted to check that out, that's a way to kind of put it on you can put it on your calendar. Obviously, that's the best thing, but you can also click that, and then you get a little pop-up or something when we start that stream. Also, just again, a little plug, and I linked to this in the description as well of this video, is our cybersecurity services. This would be managed cybersecurity services, basically security operations center as a service, so that you don't need to set up your own endpoint detection response, all kinds of things that you need to be able to comply with the cybersecurity requirements that so many broadband operators have to comply with now for BEAD funding, again, different federal funding, BEAD, USDA Reconnect, and then also insurance, business insurance. That's getting where you have to now have cybersecurity in place. It's very important for broadband operators to do that. So we can help you with that. Again, check out our website, check out this webinar, and again, we'll talk about this right now. So these are rules that would be for reporting an incident. This isn't to protect you from an incident. This isn't about that. This is about reporting if you have one and everything that you need to report. But interestingly enough, the better protected you are, the less likely you'll have to do this. You still could have something happen. Nothing's perfect, but if you could really reduce the likelihood that you're going to have some kind of a break where you're going to have to report these things, that's good. So that's just another reason to have cybersecurity in place, is so that you don't need to worry so much about having to report that you had a break and everything that you then have to do. So you see here, CISA's massive rulemaking will create the first U.S. cyber incident and ransomware payment reporting mechanism that promises to radically overhaul the workloads of most cybersecurity professionals. So again, if you want your workloads to stay low, it's good to have a managed security operations center as a service, because that keeps your workload. Then your IT folks and your technical people can they can work on keeping your network up on all the other stuff, not having to worry about cybersecurity. And then you don't have to worry as much about these reporting things. And this is a massive thing. I'll show it here in a minute. In the wake of a string of high-profile cyber incidents, capped by a crippling ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline, the U.S. Congress passed the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act of 2022. Well, that's when the act came out, okay. CIRCIA, to create a centralized federal government cyber incident reporting apparatus. So CIRCIA came second, obviously. So CISA is the organization that was developed out of the act that was passed during the Trump administration as far as cybersecurity. In March, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency published a notice of proposed rulemaking, and there's a link to that here, but I also linked to it in the description. A crucial step in establishing this new data breach reporting mechanism, CIRCIA, I guess it is not CIRCIA, but CIRCIA. Let's call it CIRCIA. Mandated that covered entities promptly reported to CISA within 72 hours after reasonably believing that a covered cyber incident has occurred. It also stipulated that covered entities report ransom payments in response to a ransomware attack within 24 hours of making them. So it's not just about a ransomware attack. It's if you were breached in any way, pretty much, and we'll look at what some of those are. And I was just going to briefly, because it's talking about the proposed rules, and it mentions covered entities in here. And what's a covered entity? Well, if you go to here, and this is the document. This makes me long. I look at this and I'm longing for an FCC notice of proposed rulemaking, because this is way worse. It's so many pages and 3 columns. It's just awful. This is just right here is all the table of contents and everything. So it's a very long document. And if I go down to this section, you see here, CISA is proposing to include in the description of covered entity any entity that provides communication services by wire or radio communications to the public, business, or government. This criterion would also require reporting from both one-way communication service providers, for example, radio and TV broadcasters, cable TV, satellite operators, and two-way communication service, for example, telecom carriers, submarine cable licenses, fixed and mobile wireless service providers, VoIP providers, internet service providers. So they're proposing, and will most likely, this is going to happen. It's not like they're proposing it and going to be talked out of it. They are going to include ISPs, broadband operators, and a little bit more on why here. So we see the communication sector assets historically have been targeted by malicious cyber actors. That's true. And that's the reason you need to have cybersecurity, because you are a target. Per the 2023 IBM Security X-Force Threat Intelligence Index, media and telecom entities have consistently experienced cyber incidents over the years, while the industry peaking as the industry experiencing the 4th most incidents in 2019. Additionally, per the 2024 Homeland Security Threat Assessment, the telecommunications industry is likely to remain a target of foreign government-affiliated cyber actors from foreign countries such as Russia and China. So you got your garden variety hackers out there, your script kiddies that are just wanting to have an impact, and then you've got foreign governments that, again, a high-profile telecom company or even a low-profile one is certainly at risk. Finally, communication services also are essential to the operations of every other critical infrastructure sector. As noted in the Communications SSP, the communication sector is one of the few sectors that can affect all other sectors. At a minimum, each sector depends on the services from communication sector to support its operations. So again, that's another reason that I think it's almost certain that broadband operators would be included as a covered entity, because they're saying right here, so many of the other sectors of our businesses are relying on the communications that they have. Damage, disruption, or unauthorized access to these communications providers has a high likelihood of disrupting the reliable operations of other critical infrastructure assets, which can cause potentially cascading impacts to the NCFs. This criticality to other sectors is reinforced by the fact that communications is one of 4 designated lifeline functions, indicating that reliable operations of this sector is so critical that a disruption or loss of this function will directly affect the security and resilience of critical infrastructure within and across numerous sectors. So right there, this is from the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. And again, a very long and ugly document that you're more than welcome to read over the weekend. If you'd like to do that, I link to it if you would like to do that. Again, these are just proposed rules at this point. And there will be some, I'm sure, comments, and they'll come out with a final rulemaking, but I would be shocked if they didn't include broadband operators. They might have something in there about smaller operators and giving them more time to implement. But I think even on smaller operators, they're going to want to have this be a requirement. Now, smaller operators are less likely to be attacked, but again, that's not always the case. Any operator that's communications provider could be hacked by anybody. It might not be a foreign government, but it certainly could be some local or even nationwide or worldwide hacker just looking for things that are open. That sometimes they don't care. They're not necessarily looking for a particular target. They're just out there probing servers and networks and saying, where is there an opening here? Where can I get in? Then they get in and they wreak havoc. So really everybody's a target. So again, here's the reporting. CISA's proposed rules cover reporting for a myriad of incidents. In its notice of proposed rulemaking, CISA outlines the proposed rules across 20 sections, encompassing a broad scope of cyber incidents and ransom payments. Covered entities must report how the rules apply across 16 U.S. critical infrastructure sectors, and again, communications sectors being one of those. The proposed regulation in the rulemaking applies to all organizations that are not considered small businesses, as defined by the U.S. Small Business Administration, except for small businesses that are considered high risk, such as critical access hospitals in rural areas, owners and operators of nuclear facilities, and central school districts. And again, I'd be surprised if broadband operators, even those that would be considered a small business based on, let's say, the number of employees they have, I would think they would still be covered on this, especially based on what we just read in there in the rulemaking. In its 450-page rulemaking, CISA details an array of complex rules that will likely further refine before the final regulation is released, and seeks comment from all interested parties. The following sections highlight the cornerstones of CISA's proposed rules, distilling some of its essential features. So again, I linked to this article so that you can get an idea of what these highlights are, what incidents to report and when, talks about that. And here's a summary. Substantial loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability of a covered entity's information system or network. A serious impact on the safety and resiliency of a covered entity's operational systems and processes, a disruption of a covered entity's ability to engage in business or industrial operations or deliver goods or services. And as a broadband operator, this really can impact you if your systems are impacted in any way through anything like a DDoS attack even, or some kind of hacking event or ransomware where suddenly your customers can't connect. That's obviously impacting your business. It's a little different for another company where maybe it impacts their ability to send out their monthly invoices and they get that fixed before the end of the month or whatever. But I mean, if you're down for 2 days because of an attack or ransomware or something like that, then obviously that's a covered issue here. Unauthorized access to a covered entity's information system or network, or any non-public information contained therein that is facilitated through or caused by either a compromise of a cloud service provider, managed service provider, or other third-party data hosting provider, or supply chain compromise. And this is why the supply chain is so important. As you look at the NIST requirements and look at what's required for BEAD, they talk about your own cybersecurity as well as your supply chain and protecting that. And it's really not like you can protect it, but you need to make sure that your supply chain, anybody that it's talking about here, cloud service organizations or others need to comply with lots of these things so that you don't get hacked through them. CISA notes that these conditions apply regardless of the cause of the incident, which might include the compromise of a cloud service provider, a managed service provider, or other third-party data hosting provider, supply chain compromise, a denial of service attack, a ransomware attack, or exploitation of a zero-day vulnerability. It's important to note that an incident needs to meet only one of the 4 prongs, not all of the 4 prongs, for it to qualify as a substantial cyber incident. Moreover, CISA proposes to include all types of systems, networks, or technologies, not just those deemed critical, in determining whether a substantial incident has occurred. So it's not like somebody has to attack something really mission critical on your network. If they get in there and mess around with several employee PCs, it sounds like maybe even that would apply. Who knows? Then there's an info in here on how incidents should be reported. I'm not going to go through all of this because these rules are going to be finalized and a lot of this may change. But I think these main points are probably not going to change. They might ease up a few things here, but again, I would certainly expect broadband operators of any size to be a covered entity under this. So you can read through the rest of this here. There's some more on that. How should ransom payments be reported? Again, there's more on that. I think they're planning on having a portal or website where this can be done. Preservation requirements and enforcement considerations. So you can read through those items. Proposed rules are a very solid first iteration. The rules intended to bolster the government's visibility into the rising tide of damaging cyber incidents will likely radically enhance how cybersecurity operates. Yes. So some quotes in there. Impact and timeline of the rules. CISA estimates the proposed rules will cover 316,244 entities. It's funny how precise they got there. So maybe they went through and looked at businesses and what categories they're in and how big they are. Again, certain organizations, it doesn't matter how big, others it does. Let's see. Sorry, that number. So 316,244 entities that will collectively will submit an estimated total of 210,525 CIRCIA reports over its analysis period. So I guess they're basing the number of, wow, this is so precise, it's funny. They're basing the number of entities they expect to be covered and then maybe guesstimating very precisely the number of intrusions there will be that need to be reported. CISA estimates the industry will incur an estimated total of 1.3 to 1.4 billion in costs, while the federal government will incur costs of 1.1 to 1.2 billion. And I'm assuming they're talking about the cost of the hack and not the cost of reporting. I don't think they're saying, here's how much it's going to cost to implement this for the businesses and the government. I think they're saying the government obviously is a target here too. So they're saying that, government entities and other business entities, this is going to be their cost for dealing with these cyber attacks. However, CISA stresses these costs will be offset by the I take it back. I didn't read this paragraph earlier. CISA stresses that these costs will be offset by the unquantifiable benefits of countering damaging cyber campaigns, improved cyber vulnerability remediation, the development of more secure software, enhanced law enforcement cyber threat investigations, and more. So I was wrong. So this is what they're estimating. It's going to cost all of these businesses and the government to implement this reporting. So this is just the reporting side. That's why it's so important for you to have cybersecurity. I should say it's another reason that it will be important to have cybersecurity is because if you can minimize the amount of reports that you have to do here because you've got good cybersecurity in place and you've got intrusion detection in place and you figure that out before there's an incident that you actually need to report, that's better than having to go through all of this stuff. So they're saying these costs will be outweighed by the fact that everybody will have better security and you won't be worrying about, because the cost of actually getting hacked or having ransomware is really bad. I wasn't figuring out what those numbers would be, but that certainly will cost more if you put good cybersecurity in place and if you're reporting it promptly. One of the reasons to report promptly is that as you're reporting things, then CISA is aware of what's going on and they can send out alerts to everybody. Those kinds of things can help them, maybe help them investigate, help them find out who the actors are. Everything there kind of ties together. Let's see, although comments are due by May 3rd, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and more than 20 organizations have requested a month-long extension of the 60-day comment period, saying the length and depth necessitate a comprehensive review process to ensure that all stakeholders fully understand its implications. CISA expects to publish its final rule in late 2025. So you've got some time, but it is something to start thinking about and start realizing this is coming down the road. However, to comply with the Administrative Procedure Act and Congressional Review Act requirements, CISA must delay the rule's effective date for 60 days, pushing it to 2026. So again, final rules 2025, which will come much faster than you think and maybe being implemented by 2026. So never too soon to start looking at these things. And if this is something that, especially depending on your size, and if you have the ability to do this, is to look through these rules, or have your attorney look through these rules. And then as you do that, kind of prepare and then also get your comments out there. So now is your time to make your voice heard, is in these proposed rules before the final rules are adopted. They will get the comments in, and they'll send out maybe a second notice of proposed rulemaking with the answers to the questions and comments that they got. And then there could be some final tweaks before it's all solidified in, let's say, the final rule of late 2025. So it's coming down the road. It's not right away, but like I say, it's never too late to start working at that, looking at this and working towards what you're going to possibly need to do, plus the fact that it's open now for comments if you want to make your voice heard. So go ahead and do that. Again, don't forget that we've got right here. Go ahead and check out that video. Click the little notify me, and then next Tuesday, that will notify you that Travis and I are live talking about cybersecurity and what the requirements are for USDA Reconnect, and not just really USDA Reconnect. Other government funding programs, almost certainly all future programs will have a requirement for cybersecurity. It almost certainly will have the same requirements because the government's going to want to reuse that. USDA, like I say, is just like the NIST requirements. CISA is using the same requirements. Business insurance. So you're probably going to need this. So we're going to be covering lots of information that's going to be very, very relevant, whether or not it's BEAD, business insurance, or USDA Reconnect. Make sure that you join us there. Again, click the notify me button to be notified. Again, you can check out our website to find out more about what we can offer on that. And if you are watching this video after we do that live, you will actually get to the video at that point. So if you click the link that's in the description below, and we've already done this video, then you're going to get the recorded version of this. So you won't need to wait for it. It'll actually just pop up and play for you. And I know lots of people will see this after the fact. So that'll be after next Tuesday, April 23rd. As soon as that's done, then that link will take you directly to the recorded video, and then you'll be able to watch it with no problem, with no wait, I should say. Again, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button, ring the bell to be notified when I'm live, and you'll get lots of good content like this that's applicable to broadband providers. It could be about what's going on as far as broadband deployment, but also things like this that are important, cybersecurity. If you like the video, if you would, just give the video a little like there. Click the thumbs up on the video. I'd appreciate that. And I will see you next time for Broadband Deployment News. Take care. Bye-bye.